Rebel Moon, guys, comes out. It comes out on the week today on Netflix. A week, about a week from yesterday on Netflix. So far, the review. So far, it's not looking good for the film. Those scores. We're gonna check that out later on Rotten Tomatoes. But first, we're gonna get to this review, this non-spoiler review of Grace Randolph about Rebel Moon. Now, I have not seen the movie. This is a non-spoiler review from Grace Randolph. Okay, please, non-spoiler review, and that's the wrong video. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. But yeah, as I was saying, this is the first part of Rebel Moon. As you know, there's a second part coming out later this year. Okay. Right. So this is part one. We're gonna hear what she says. I have not seen the movie. Is this is she gonna convince me to see it or not? We'll find out at the end of the video if she's gonna convince me to buy it or not to buy it, but to watch it on Netflix. So I'm going. Okay. She's gonna see if I'm gonna. Okay, you're gonna give it my answer. Is she gonna convince me to watch it? Let's dissect. So like, share, subscribe, comment below. And thank you for getting to me over 100 views on one of my videos. I did it about a week ago. I did not notice that. Did not notice I got to over 100 views on a video until yesterday. I didn't really check till yesterday. I'm thankful for that, guys. Thank you. But let's see what Grace Randolph has to say about this film, Rebel Moon, Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon Part 1. Okay, let's see what she has to say. It's a long video. Let's see what she has to say.
This was better than I thought it would be.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if it's going to win over any new fans, but for those who really appreciate Zack Snyder's work, I think they'll be pretty satisfied. Now, the reason I say only pretty satisfied is that this is very much a part one. Like, it's not a full movie. And on top of that, it has less action than you would expect from a Zack Snyder movie.
Okay.
I mean, really, no huge...
So, here's the same issues again. The problems again. It's not going to catch on the general audience. The Snyder fans are going to like this movie. That's typical Zack Snyder. He can't make a film for. He struggles with making a film for just general audiences.
Extended action set piece. I mean, there's definitely action. I would describe it as more action moments than action scenes. Okay. But they were cool.
You liked it.
That said, I think the cliffhanger ending is strong enough that now I gotta see how it ends. They got me. And there are some interesting ideas and good performances that really capture a sci-fi and or genre fan's imagination. I was like, that's pretty cool.
There's a cliffhanger.
Speaking of sci-fi and genre films, there is a lot of inspiration here.
Star Wars.
There's been a lot of talk about this being Zack Snyder's Star Wars movie. In fact, it was originally his Star Wars pitch to Lucasfilm. However, the finished product, I think, plays more like Zack Snyder's Dune. And some of you will be like, yes, and that's great. But my point is that while I, of course, realize the Dune influenced Star Wars is more commercial, particularly when it's firing on all cylinders, and is more Saturday morning cartoon. Whereas Dune is more adult, weird, and niche. And that's how I would describe Rebel Moon. And on that note, while this might be the PG-13 cut, what's in the R cut? It's still pretty adult, particularly with a lot of sexual innuendo. Some of it not too innuendo-y.
Of course there's sexual innuendos. That's typical Zack Snyder.
And I bring that up because if you're planning to watch this as a family film, you might want to watch it first yourself. You don't even have to watch the whole thing because it's over 2 hours long. But you might want to watch like the first 30 minutes. I think that's enough for you to kind of get the tone and how far they go here. Pretty far. I would think, there needs to be something between PG-13 and R at this point, because I think I see a lot of films being rated PG-13 that I don't feel are like really PG-13.
14.
What do you think? I know some of you will be like, leave the ratings alone, Grace, but I thought it was pretty adult. I mean, and I'm not just talking, some of you will be like, oh, why do you always have a problem with that kind of stuff, Grace? I think because of the violent aspects of how it was portrayed. So I think anyone would take issue with that in a PG-13 film. Another clear inspiration for the film is Frank Frazetta, with many scenes and characters looking very much like one of his famous paintings. Some people take issue with Zack Snyder's use of slow motion, but I think it's to create tableaus. And I think that's cool. I think his tableaus are some of his best work. That's his signature move. And I think with good reason. Some of the best moments in this
problem with his slow motion stuff during scenes that don't need it.
Movie are the slow motion tableaus that it creates. You're like, ooh, that's nice. That's one of the reasons you watch a Zack Snyder movie, because you wait for those moments where you're like, oh, I see it. It's beautiful. There's also some Seven Samurai vibes here with the group that Sofia Boutella's Korra brings together. You're like, oh yeah, Seven Samurai, I see it. And then also Game of Thrones. You've not only got both Darios in this movie, both of them, the full set, but a strong European vibe to a lot of the sequences, almost as if it's Zack Snyder's Norway pavilion at Epcot. I was like, this is hardcore Norway, man. And there's also, of course, a lot of trademark Zack Snyder in here as well. In addition to the slow motion, there's tons of green screen, although I like that because I think he does a lot with it. I think both movies were like under $200 million, so that's pretty impressive, especially considering how much VFX is here and how much of the world they build. A lot of times when I was watching the movie, I was like, wow, they spent a lot of money on this. So I looked up the budget afterwards, and I think it's supposed to be like 166 for 2 movies. That's a great deal, especially considering how good they look.
Sure it is.
Shirtless, glistening dudes. I mean, there are certainly a lot of attractive women in this movie as well, but when it comes to showing skin, it's all guys. And then, of course, as I said, cool visuals. Yes, the movie is at its best when it's light on dialogue, except for some nice monologues for Anthony Hopkins, particularly the introduction of the movie. And then Ray Fisher has a very nice monologue. I think part of that is not only because those monologues are the best writing, but also I think those actors did the best job with what they were given, with delivering their monologues.
See, there's the issue. There's the thing. So basically, she said this is more story paced and action paced, and right here, the dialogue, you could tell the dialogue's not great because she says what the actors were given. You could tell they're not great. It's not great. That's typical Zack Snyder for you guys, right? Great with the visuals, visual storytelling, great with the looks and all that, but when it comes to overall dialogue and making sense of things, that's his weakest.
They plussed it. But really, in a Zack Snyder movie, just like a video game, the dialogue and cutscenes should be, I mean, they're important, of course, but they're real. I mean, let's not forget why people are here. The action sequences. So I think that in some points of the movie, particularly the first act, the balance, well, again, I said it should be action heavy. There's just too much dialogue, particularly in the first act. I was like, that's a lot of time.
Final Fantasy 16.
I don't really love the mushy stuff. I don't like that kind of stuff. Although I think that I was like, this is a little bit too much for me. You know what? I got to say, it reminded me a little bit, in Barbie, when it's like Ken played guitar at Barbie for 7 hours. Some of the dialogue in this movie kind of reminded me of that. But I was like, hey, so while it might not be for me, maybe some guys who do that might like that. They might be like, oh, it's downright poetic. So you might like that. But I did like all the backstory. That was very good. Zack Snyder and his co-writers, who worked with him on 300 and Army of the Dead, respectively, they can weave.
300's good. 300's good. I like 300. But Army of the Dead was shit. Army of the Dead was horrible.
A good tale. So to reiterate,
that was not a good tale.
Hearing about people's feelings, in my opinion, boo. But hearing about their history, the history of these characters, yay! I like that a lot. It was like reading the back of like a trading card or something, or their Wikipedia entry, and you were like, oh, "That sounds pretty good." And you get to see it, and I was like, "Oh, I like it." Now let's talk about the cast, and we've got a big one here, and I'm going to list them in the order of my favorites. And that's right, Sofia Boutella was my favorite. I've never really felt that she was like. I think she's always been very good at action and movement, but I've always felt that she's been lacking as an actress. But here she does a really great job. And maybe that's because she's a really good fit with Zack Snyder. Because to him, it's a lot about the look of an actor. And Butella looks amazing here, particularly in her past as a soldier for the bad guys. I was like, that's quite the dashing figure. She looked phenomenal. And she's excellent in the action sequences. She does a very, very good job. And when
I know this is like big, so this is like her big leading role, if I can remember, because I've seen her other stuff. She's more of a supporting character than a leading actress.
it comes to the dialogue, I think she did a nice job. I think she did a pretty nice job with her dialogue. At the end of the day, I ended up liking her character quite a bit. And I thought she anchored the film effectively. She takes out a lot of big dudes, and I'm curious.
My name is Wonka.
Wonka.
You're Rocker, Wonka. Wonka.
Sport Chek's holiday big check event is on now. Get up to 70% off our regular price on.
Curious to see how some fanboys react to that, but to me, I think the movie did a good job highlighting her training and experience. So I bought it. Although I was like, I wonder how some people are going to react to this. It's interesting. I don't think Zack Snyder gets enough credit for, the girl power in his work. Although that's, of course, not appreciated very much these days. So I'm curious to see how it's received. She was my favorite, though. Then Ray Fisher, runner-up. What a talented actor. His voice, so silvery smooth. I love it. I also enjoyed his work on True Detective, by the way. But he really pops here. I was like, wow. He's first introduced with a lot of makeup and under like this big wig. And I was like, but just even with his body language, I was like, who's that guy? And I was like, it's Ray Fisher. He's so great. I mean, his role is small, but he definitely makes the most of it. And it's such a shame, I thought, while watching him here, that Duna Bay, so cool. I love her look. I love it. Cool. That hat, huge props to whoever gave her that hat. He's fantastic. Zack Snyder's take on Han Saber ripoffs. Actually, I think more accurately,
Now it's been confirmed that Charlie Hunnam did confirm that he was offered the role of Green Arrow, but he did turn it down.
Zack Snyder's take on Han Solo, which of course I think is more adult and realistic. And I think it was quite clever as well. And that's all I'll say because this is a non-spoiler review. Anthony Hopkins playing Warrior C-3PO. That's how I would bill it. But I liked it. I love droids. I love them. Eye candy personified. It was hilarious. But he does have a cool action scene, which was Jimon Hansu inspiration. So that was his thing. Teaming up again. I was like, isn't that nice? But in the close-ups, and then in the wide shots, who was basically just doing it, enjoyed it, especially after the first act. If you can get through the first act, you're home free. And I'm interested enough and invested enough that I want to see part 2. And again, it has some really great visuals, action moments, and performances. But I do not care for this new trend in Hollywood of 2-parter movies. I'd rather watch, for all the complaining about 3-hour movies, I'd rather watch a 3-hour movie that's complete right now rather than have these 2-part stories told sometimes like months and sometimes years apart. I mean, like the part 2 for this doesn't come out until April. I mean, if it came out like in a month, I think that would be a little bit better.
You can't wait 4 months? I
mean, really, it's really just half a movie.
4 or 5 months.
I mean, something like.
I mean, this is part 2 of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse may not come out for a year or two, but you can't wait 5 months? 5 months for part 2?
Spider-Verse felt a little bit more complete to me. This really just feel like just half. Like Zack Snyder just chopped his movie in half, and you're like, where's the rest of it, man? All right, so that's my review of Rebel Moon, currently in a handful of theaters. Like, really, I think only like 2.
Okay. So it's fun. You could tell she liked it. Okay, I think that's quite obvious. You could tell she liked it, right? Now, it sounds like a typical Zack Snyder film, and sounds like there is some more dialogue and less action. But it sounds like the dialogue is the weakest part of this film. Again, weakest part. Everything else looks good, right? I think the characters look good. I really do. They look pretty cool. I think they. This is a very solid cast. Obviously, you can tell she liked it, but she clearly states all the Zack Snyder tropes they push in his movies. Okay. Okay. Cool and all, but you could clearly say in the beginning that, yeah, this is basically a film for Zack Snyder fans, and that's the problem with Zack Snyder. He doesn't make. He's just making films for his fans, and no, not just for his fans, but he can't make it. He can't do enough to get people invested in the whole wide audience invested in him. The Batman, his DC stuff failed. Just people just didn't like it. The Snyder fans liked it, but just overall thing that overall people didn't like it. They might have liked Batman Superman, but they didn't like his takes. Army of Dead I thought was bad, but one of his weakest films. 300 I liked. It's just he excels at visuals and stuff like that, but he does not excel. And I know he's not actually the writer, but he should have some. He does not excel at storytelling in terms of dialogue, what makes sense, stuff like that. And it sounds like it's this film again. And yeah, this is not Star Wars. Sounds more like Dune by the way she's explaining, because Dune was slow paced in the first movie, but Dune is like pretty. People are hyped up for Dune. Dune could be $1 billion hit. It's possibly $1 billion hit in the making. This is not Dune. This is not the next Star Wars. This is Rebel Moon. So she liked it. Is it going to convince me enough to watch it? Yeah, I'm going to watch it. It's on Netflix. I got Netflix. I'll watch it. I'll watch it whether she didn't convince me yes or no. I already kind of made the decision. Question is for you guys. Will you watch it? It's on Netflix, guys. You don't go see it in the theater. Also, we're just going to pull up the Rotten Tomatoes score. Now, take the Rotten Tomatoes score with a grain of salt. You know, the critics always take that with a grain of salt. It's at 26%. As I'm going to show you here, 26%, okay, with 38 reviews. Now let's go read some. Entertaining feeling of science from Fred Topo, United Press. An entertaining feeling of science fiction and general storytelling tropes through the lens of characters. Yeah, and I think with Zack Snyder, he doesn't know how to. I think with Zack Snyder, he doesn't know how to do variety, change things up. David Crowell, Den of Geek. I know Den of Geek. Despite existing in a galaxy with 1,000 star systems and worlds, there is no sunlight in the thing. Our charm. It is an eminently bleak cosmos and mistakes a lack of humor for a lack of life. Let's go to some people we know, okay? The Wrap. A huge, expensive, but uninspired Star Wars knockoff with some thrilling action sequences and some truly ugly moments that taint the entire thing. Okay, let's go find out. Joe Blows. Okay, go for some pause. Here's Grace Randolph. More Zack Snyder's doing this is Star Wars. The filmmaker opus isn't likely to win over new fans, obviously, but it's a treat for those who appreciate his work. Botella, Fisher, and Bay are the real standouts. I do wish the two-part movie craze would end. Okay, that's Grace. Okay. So yeah, 26% is not good. Now, earlier today I saw it was at 9%, but it's going up. I don't expect it to get to the 50 to 60%. The critic score. I expect 50 to 60 to maybe 50 to 60, 50 to 70 on the audience score. I expect the audience score to be higher, but it's always suspected by Rotten Tomatoes. The audience in critic scores are always usually the discrepancy between the two scores are usually large. Sometimes you'll find them were pretty close by, but I think this is one of the films that's going to be divided. It's going to be divided because I personally think there's a lot of people that are Snyder fan, and whether you're just a regular Snyder, normal person, or a Snyder cult, he's going to bombard as an audience score member, like give it positive reviews no matter what. And if you could tell there's Snyder cult people, you can tell you can't take their take seriously, right? But yeah, are you gonna see this movie or not? I'm not gonna see it in theaters. I'm gonna see it on Netflix. It comes out next week, so I'm gonna watch it on Netflix. So yeah, did she convince me to watch it? I was planning to watch it anyway. I got Netflix. I got Aquaman next week too. Iron Claw. We got Wonka. A lot of things this month. A lot of good movies this month. Go check out them. Go check out whatever movies that interest you, man. Yeah, but this is. Look how she liked it. She clearly likes it. She's upset. She can't wait 5 months for part 2. Okay, whatever. Like, share, subscribe, and comment below, guys. Are you gonna watch it? Are you gonna see it?